This is Channel 7 Eyewitness News with Greg Hurst, Roz Abrams, Sam Champion with the exclusive AccuWeather forecast, and the Eyewitness News team. Now, Eyewitness News.
Good evening, everyone. Greg and Roz are off tonight. I'm Tim Fleischer.
And I'm Diana Williams. It is over. Terry Anderson is a free man, and the Lebanese hostage crisis has ended for the American people. Within the last hour, Anderson faced reporters in a packed room at the Syrian Foreign Ministry. Anderson, who is at 44 from Batavia, New York, was taken hostage in March of 1985. He was chief of the Associated Press Bureau in Beirut. He was released early today, but a snowstorm forced him and his Syrian escorts to take a detour to get to Damascus, where he expressed his thanks.
I've thought about this moment for a long time, and now it's here. I don't know how to express it. I mean, thanks just doesn't cover it. Yesterday afternoon, my captors came in, brought some new clothes, new shoes, my first in 7 years, and they hurt my feet, by the way. And they said that I would be going home today. I spent the day pacing the room and playing solitaire and waiting. I think these last 24 hours have been longer than the whole 6.5 years beforehand. What kept me going on? Well, my companions. I was lucky enough to have other people with me most of the time. My faith, stubbornness, I guess. You just do what you have to do. You wake up every day and you summon up the energy from somewhere, even when you think you haven't got it, and you get through the day. And you do it, day after day after day. And it works.
Anderson will now go to the U.S. hospital in Wiesbaden, Germany for treatment and debriefing. His appearance caps a day of questions about his release.
Before my release today, my captors have asked me to read a statement from them to the world. This is their statement about this episode of hostage-taking. It is not mine.
Anderson, seen in this videotape released by the Islamic Jihad, appears clean-shaven and neatly dressed. He told the world he was being set free today. But in the hours that followed, there was uncertainty and confusion.
There is a technical problem, probably due to snow. There is a lot of snow in the route which leads from Beirut to Damascus.
Terry Anderson might be released tonight.
So he has not yet been released from Beirut?
No, not yet.
Not yet?
Not yet, as far as our information is concerned.
In spite of the questions about Anderson's whereabouts, his taped appearance led to early morning enthusiastic reactions from former hostages.
We are elated, delighted at the news that Terry is probably released. I think he's going to go through quite a range of emotions, but he's strong, and I'm certain he will come through well.
When I heard the news at 1:30 this morning, I know that Reverend Weir and Marty Janko and myself and Tom Sutherland, we were finally free at last. It's been a horrible ordeal for all of us, and now maybe we can get on with our lives.
Anderson has been called the glue that held all of the hostages together, the man who refused to allow any of them to be broken spiritually or physically. He was the first American to be kidnapped and the last to be freed. And in his final act as a hostage, Anderson was forced to read a long, angry statement from his kidnappers, the Islamic Jihad. It signals the end of one bitter chapter in the Middle East, but urges a renewed struggle against Israel, the United States, and against the use of diplomacy to find peace in the region.
We declare in front of everybody that we will not leave the poisoned American knife penetrating in the chests of our nation's dear sons through the peace of the debaters. We will not leave the melody of bargaining to be played with the criminal Zionists while a drop of blood is running through our veins.
Waiting for Anderson, his wife, and a 6-year-old daughter he has never seen. Anderson becomes the 15th American to be freed since the hostage-taking began back in 1985. 3 Americans were killed during captivity.
It was a day, nevertheless, filled with emotional highs and lows, as you might imagine, which ended in elation for Anderson's family. A big celebration is already underway in Lorain, Ohio, where Anderson was born. Hundreds of people getting ready to replace yellow ribbons with welcome home signs. Anderson's sister Peggy say is awaiting her brother in Wiesbaden. Family members say her tireless crusade helped Anderson's spirits.
Came out that whenever there would be news about what Peggy was doing, then they would give Terry news. You know, and the more that she did, the more news he got.
They were nailing up the welcome home sign also in Batavia, New York, where Anderson grew up. And Kathy Wolf now reports the celebrating continued in the Associated Press offices where Anderson worked.
It was the moment AP employees had waited years for. Terry Anderson's live image on television brought cheers from the hundreds who worked at the New York headquarters. The emotion was particularly strong since it had been held in check since early this morning. As early as 7:30 this morning, AP staffers were going about their work as usual, somehow managing to ignore the cameras and activity around them. Many said they'd hold their enthusiasm until they saw Terry Anderson with their own eyes, and as the day progressed, that turned out to be a wise approach.
It's pretty agonizing to have to go through this for the last hours of it when it's been 7 years of the same thing.
The flurry of calls between the Middle East and the AP headquarters was handled by senior editors who soon learned it would be a roller coaster of a day. First, the Iranian news agency reports that Anderson is free. Next, the Lebanese government officials confirm that it's true. The third confirmation, a U.S. ambassador to Lebanon calls Terry Anderson's sister to say he's coming home. Then the Syrian foreign minister reports Syrian troops are escorting the American hostage. At about that time, the Islamic Jihad released a statement and a tape of Anderson. But at 9 o'clock, the Syrian foreign minister calls back to say he's not free yet.
We could not immediately look at the videotape of Terry reading this statement, the same statement in English from his captors. We finally got to see the videotape, and Terry said he was to be freed.
Champagne is put on ice, but no one's ready to celebrate. International desk editor Laura King wrote the story with her bosses peering over her shoulder and at least a half a dozen TV cameras recording her every move. But later, the UN Secretary General retracted the statement, leaving Anderson's colleagues to wonder if they should take the champagne off the ice and put the calendar marking his days in captivity back on the wall. At AP headquarters in Midtown, Kathy Wolf, Channel 7, Eyewitness News.
Well, news of Anderson's release also got an emotional response from former captive Joseph Sicipio, who said of all the hostages, in his words, Terry's the best. A gaunt-looking Sicipio was freed 2 days ago. Today in Wiesbaden, he spoke briefly to reporters, his wife and brothers at his side. The former hostage said he read more than 150 books to pass the time since he was not allowed to read newspapers or magazines.
Tim, there is disturbing news tonight about the health of former hostage Alan Steen. Doctors say he has brain damage from a beating by his kidnappers. Steen arrived at the military hospital in Wiesbaden last night. Doctors say Steen's condition causes seizures and numbness in his extremities, and that the brain damage may be permanent. Steen told doctors his captors beat him severely during his first year as a hostage. The hostage drama may be over for America, but other captives remain in Lebanon. Germany is still negotiating for the release of 2 Germans kidnapped back in 1989. An Italian businessman kidnapped in 1985 is believed dead. And an Israeli pilot taken prisoner in 1986 is the only one of 4 missing Israeli soldiers thought to be alive in Lebanon.
The long-running and often frustrating search for peace in the Middle East continues as a new round of talks began in Washington today. This time, Palestinian delegates showed the Israelis did not. Senior correspondent John Johnson is in Washington tonight with the latest. John.
Well, Tim, it was a day of diplomatic posturing and no shows. Whenever you're dealing with the Middle East, nothing is normal or usual, and today was no different. The Israelis did what they said they would do. They didn't show up. That's while the Arabs did. They showed up accusing the Israelis of trying to jeopardize the entire peace process.
Israel has deliberately and willfully tried to place obstacles in the path of the process.
One after the other, the Lebanese, the Syrians, and the Palestinian Jordanian delegations left the State Department early this morning, leaving behind the empty negotiating rooms where Israel and their Arab foes were to meet face-to-face in bilateral negotiations. But Israel had maintained they were not ready to attend the peace talks until next Monday. The Arabs, meantime, exploited the Israeli no-show as an opportunity to accuse Israel of trying to destroy the whole peace process.
Israel officials are in town right now, but instead of talking to us about peace, they are at pains trying to explain away. They're failing to do that by talking to the media.
The Israelis were in town, holding their own very public news conference accusing the Arabs of also playing to the news media. But in a one-on-one interview, Israeli Deputy Minister Benjamin Netanyahu made it clear that Israel, by its absence, wanted to send a strong message to the Arabs and to the United States.
The real negotiation has to be done between the Arabs and the Israelis with each other, and not by as the Arabs envision, an American-imposed intervention. That's not going to happen.
With a little egg on its face, the State Department tried to put the best face on the Israeli empty chair at the peace table.
The Israeli government has officially notified us this morning that they will be sending all 3 of their negotiating teams to Washington shortly.
And tonight, officials here at the State Department are trying to keep these peace talks from falling apart. They're urging all of the Arab delegations to stay in Washington until the Israelis show up next Monday. Reporting live from Washington, I'm John Johnson, Channel 7 Eyewitness News.
Washington's attention was momentarily turned away today from the peace talks to David Duke's decision to run for president. During today's announcement, the former Klan leader and Nazi sympathizer was interrupted by hecklers and demonstrators. But Duke continued on with his challenge.
And the Republican Party has too long been dominated, as a Democratic Party, by insiders and backroom politics. The grassroots of America must be allowed to speak.
Duke's challenge, combined with that of conservative Pat Buchanan, could spell trouble for the Republicans, as Pat Dawson reports.
It's a political event all but unthinkable just months ago. But a challenge from the right has become more than an annoyance to the president's political intimates. His 1988 New York campaign director suggests the White House has some serious fence mending to do.
I would not have thought that that would have been possible 6 months ago. But I don't think it's a serious threat. It's troublesome. It could be embarrassing if you don't do your homework.
And as the president's political problems mount, the last thing George Bush needs is an embarrassment from within his own party. But the conservative challenge will largely succeed or fail based more on the economy than ideology. Conservative voters are now mad at the president largely for the same reasons all voters are. Domestic problems, specifically the economy.
I think there's a deep sense of dismay among working people. I understand that. Some of that, I think, is manifest in the pro-Buchanan and pro-Duke support.
And that disaffection is acute in New Hampshire, where former Reagan aide and conservative commentator Pat Buchanan will likely offer a more respectable right-wing alternative to the president than David Duke. Losing isn't very likely, but even a protest vote of any size in New Hampshire will be a problem for the White House. Either Buchanan or Duke could capitalize on the high expectations for any incumbent president. Not enough to cost the nomination, but a political headache nonetheless. But a Duke third-party candidacy could become a major factor in the general election, especially if the Democratic nominee is a moderate Southerner like Governor Bill Clinton. That combination could break a rock-solid Republican hold in the South, a major political headache for George Bush. Pat Dawson, Channel 7 Eyewitness News.
Buchanan is expected to make an official announcement within the next few days.
But at this hour, William Kennedy Smith is facing his accuser. The woman who claims Smith raped her is on the stand, testifying about the alleged attack. We'll take you live to West Palm Beach next.
And later, holiday travelers may find their wings clipped by the grounding of another major airline. We'll have details for you. Plus, we'll take you to a city hall where officials are trying to recruit new leaders by advertising in the newspaper. That's all coming up later on Eyewitness News.
Tense moments and high drama in a Florida courtroom. William Kennedy Smith comes face to face with the woman who accuses him of rape. Right now, she is on the witness stand, and we go now live to Sarah Wallace in West Palm Beach. Sarah.
Well, quite frankly, the testimony here has been riveting. William Kennedy Smith's accuser is a very strong witness. She remained composed up until the time that she described what she called a brutal act of rape. In fact, she said that she thought that Smith was going to kill her. The prosecution badly needed a boost after the testimony earlier today of another key prosecution witness was virtually ripped to shreds by the defense during cross-examination. Now, that witness is a friend of Smith's accuser who picked her up after the alleged rape. Ann Mercer admits she sold her story to a tabloid TV show for $40,000. But was the deal more of a sellout to cash in on the Kennedy name? In this case, William Kennedy Smith. That's what Smith's defense attorney claims, but he accused Mercer of a lot more today, repeatedly hammering away at inconsistencies in earlier statements she made to police.
Sir, you are painting me as a liar here. I would like to complete my answer on that question.
Ms. Mercer, whether you're a liar or not is determined by the jury, and the jury only.
The next clash over this urn removed from the Kennedy house by the alleged victim, Mercer and her boyfriend.
To be blunt, you were lying, weren't you?
I don't like you to say that to me.
With Mercer's credibility in shambles, the testimony of the alleged victim herself became that much more crucial. And late this afternoon, in a surprise move, she took the stand. She described how she literally bumped into William Smith at a popular night spot called O-Bar.
What was his demeanor to you at that time?
He was a very nice man.
Did he say anything offensive at all?
No.
Did he ever indicate to you in any way that he expected you to have sex with him?
No, that's one of the reasons why I felt at ease with him is during our dancing, he'd never laid one hand on me. He had never done anything suggestive at all, and it seemed he was more interested in talking about his school and his upcoming exams and my daughter, and I felt no sexual innuendos whatsoever through my conversations with him at O-Bar.
But back at the Kennedy compound, the woman would tell a terrifying story of rape. She is now on the stand. We'll have more on her testimony tonight at 6 o'clock. Live from West Palm Beach, Florida, Sarah Wallace, Channel 7 Eyewitness News.
Thank you, Sarah. And as she says, on Eyewitness News at 6, Sarah will have more on the victim's testimony as she continues to cover the trial for us. Diana?
A New Jersey couple could be the first tried on elderly neglect charges. Deborah and Ernest Barris were indicted after police found the body of Deborah's 79-year-old mother lying in a trash-filled room of their Jefferson Township home. Police say that Tessie Henschel had not been cleaned or moved for weeks before she died of heart disease. The Barris say that they were just respecting her wishes to be left alone. And police are still trying to figure out why a Swiss nanny allegedly poured a flammable liquid on a 3-month-old baby, set the home on fire, and left the infant to die. Olivia Reiner is charged with murder. She was the one who called the fire department to the house in Thornwood. Reiner's parents are on their way to the United States from Switzerland.
It can be a deadly, vicious flu virus, and tonight comes word the vaccine is running out. We'll have details.
And we'll have the latest on hundreds of people left in the dark when an ice storm deals a blow to the Catskills. We've got that and more coming up on Eyewitness News.
A North Carolina county is the first to run out of the flu vaccine following warnings of a possible shortage. After giving a record number of shots, the Hanover County Health Department confirms it is now turning people away. Officials tried to get more vaccine, but it is simply not available. At least 21 states are reporting flu outbreaks, a much earlier start for the virus than expected.
Winter is off to an early start, smothering the Catskills in an ice storm, knocking out power lines and canceling school there. David Navarro has details.
Entire patches of forest were leveled to the ground, some trees completely split in half. Cars were frozen solid, and road crews from all over the state rushed to reconnect snapped power lines. For the second day in a row, much of Sullivan County found itself under a thick blanket of ice, a glacial overcoat that sent thousands of residents and visitors to the Catskills area into the ice age without power.
This is one of the worst storms that in the 43 years that I've served in icing that I've ever experienced.
Freezing rains from 2 nights ago and blustery winds have coated power lines with more ice than they can handle. At the height of the storm, almost 24,000 customers were without power. As of this afternoon, 13,000 were still in the dark. Local officials set up shelters at community centers and schools for those in need of a place to stay. But the hardest hit by the deep freeze were the Catskills resorts, where for a time the only light came from candles.
A lot of trees went down, took out the high tension lines, and cut the hotel off for power for about 15 hours.
Today, the Concord and most other resorts were back to full power. But for a group of high school musicians looking forward to a convention yesterday, it was too late.
I'm really disappointed because we worked really hard, all the kids, to come to this year.
The electric company hopes to have power fully restored to the area by midnight tomorrow. Meanwhile, local officials are counting their blessings that despite ice-slick roads and power outages, no serious injuries have been reported yet as a result of the storm. Reporting from Sullivan County, David Navarro, Channel 7 Eyewitness News.
Wow. Well, Old Man Winter also visited New York City today. I don't know if you have to poke your nose out the window, bringing snow flurries with him.
Yeah, we saw it today, and snow has smothered many other parts of the country. Bill Evans has his chilly AccuWeather forecast coming up next.
We were just discussing whether or not today's flurries were actually the first snowstorm of the season.
Yeah.
We decided it wasn't a storm.
No, we can call it that, though. A little snow squall passed through today. We'll talk about how those are made, and they're a little phenomenal, actually. You don't see them very much, particularly this time of year, because you really just, you don't get snow in New York like you used to. There was the snow falling today, and at times it dropped visibilities down to a half mile. As a matter of fact, at White Plains, it dropped it to a quarter of a mile. It was snowing so hard there for a while. Well, right now, snow's gone. For the most part, there is a few scattered flurries around. It's 34. Can you believe it snowed at about 39 degrees? That's why it didn't stick on the ground. 45 the humidity right now. It's still dry. The barometer's rising because high pressure is coming in. And at the same time, those winds are just making it very raw and nasty outside. 16 miles per hour sustained up to 23. 45 and 33, those are very close to the normals for this time of the year. The snow squall I was talking about is caused by high pressure rushing into the area, filling in a space left by a low pressure system that brought us all the rain. There were pockets of instability in the upper atmosphere, and when high pressure comes in, that cold air slams into those little pockets of moisture left in the upper atmosphere, creates those snow squalls that rush across the area, caused by winds that move in from the north-northeast at about 15 to 30 miles per hour. Some of the winds inside those squalls jumped up to 60 miles per hour. As a matter of fact, just south of Atlantic City, 69 mile per hour winds gusted through. Now that this high pressure system moves on through, we'll have cold winds tonight and tomorrow, but the center or the axis of the high will give us clear skies and calm winds coming up for tomorrow night. Then we'll begin to see a warm-up this weekend as the backside of the high shifts the winds around to the southwest. Here are the satellite pictures. You can see the storm as it just moves right on through. And the storm itself did bring a few squalls just about everywhere. See, this system just moves off the coast, and behind it in the upper atmosphere are clouds left over by the low-pressure storm system. These are called wraparound clouds. They'll just drift across tonight, and there's enough moisture in those clouds to create a few snow squalls. Here's some right now around Binghamton, southward here into northern Pennsylvania. Just south of Brooklyn, there's a snow squall just off the coast there, and that snow squall is going to just keep on moving out south of Long Island. So across the rest of the country, we're really seeing a lot of clouds that have now moved off the coast. Here's the satellite picture from the rest of the country now. And the snowstorm is just about moving into New England, and will just keep moving off tonight. As a matter of fact, that big ridge of high pressure I was talking about, it'll just keep rolling in tonight. As a matter of fact, that brought a lot of snow and cold temperatures to Chicago. Let's look at the snow pictures there we have for you. As much as 6 inches of snow throughout the Chicago area. The big storm in the Midwest left O'Hare Airport for a while at a virtual standstill as folks wheeled along in the weather. Temperatures will continue to be in the 20s and 30s across the Northeast, and we'll see that cold air just continue to rush across the area. The cold weather will be with us, but then eventually it will warm up. However, tonight you'll want to bring the pets and the plants indoors, as we'll see high pressure just giving us some really cold weather for this evening. Let's get a look at your AccuWeather forecast for tonight. It's going to be cold tonight, 22, blustery, very cold. Now with the winds, the wind chills are going to be at about 10 below, 15 below. Tomorrow, sunshine, brisk and quite cold, 30 the high though, but it will feel like 20. The winds will die down a little bit tomorrow, and then tomorrow night the winds will really drop off, but we could get some flurries late tomorrow night from some of that cold air. We'll talk more about those wind chills, and we'll get a look at the 5-day forecast coming up in just a minute.
Okay. Ooh, cold,
right.
cold.
Yep. Fun luck.
Oh, the airline that pioneered commercial aviation 50 years ago is grounded tonight. Pan Am went out of business and caught some passengers off guard. Carlos Granda is at Kennedy Airport with a live report. Carlos?
Well, Diana, the shutdown caught everyone here at Kennedy Airport by surprise. It's been no secret that Pan Am has been in serious financial trouble for years, but recently it had made a deal with Delta, and some thought Pan Am could survive. But after putting up $115 million, Delta said it would invest no more, and Pan Am stopped flying at 9 o'clock this morning. For passengers on Flight 223 to Santo Domingo, the news came a little too soon. They had already boarded the plane and were getting ready to take off when their flight came to an abrupt end.
Belt buckled up and ready to go.
And 10 to 15 minutes passed by, and then they said for everyone to get off the plane.
Pan Am filed for bankruptcy earlier this year, and with the help of Delta was trying to reorganize as a smaller airline concentrating on Latin America. Today that plan fell through when Delta backed out of the deal and announced it would not give Pan Am $25 million, money Pan Am needed to keep flying.
I had a chance to go with Delta, and I didn't because we thought that we're going to make it as a smaller airline. And now this. Do you believe this? None of us believe it. We're in shock.
Pan Am is the third airline this year to shut down, joining Midway and Eastern. The company, which has 7,500 employees, at one time was the premier airline in the world. It was first with Trans-Pacific and transatlantic service. Today, it all came to an end.
We are officially released from duty, effective immediately.
Even though they were out of a job, some employees stayed on to help stranded passengers.
We're a tightly knit family here, and we tried all the way to the very end to keep this place together. And whether people believe it or not, we do care here.
There was no personal service for callers to Pan Am's reservation number. They only got a recorded message.
We are very sorry to advise you that Pan American Airways has suspended operations. All flights are canceled.
So some passengers decided to come to the airport. There was confusion as people tried to change to other airlines.
We will make the reservations. We do not know if they'll accept your ticket.
Well, what do you do if you have a Pan Am ticket? We checked with Delta, and an employee at the counter told us they are accepting Pan Am tickets, but Delta has to fly to your destination. Otherwise, Pan Am says the only way to get your money back is to mail it in and wait for a refund. Reporting live from Kennedy Airport, Carlos Granda, Channel 7, Eyewitness News.
Well, schedules were also disrupted at Yale University when a strike forced some classes to be canceled. More than 1,000 graduate students staged the one-day walkout, protesting the university's refusal to recognize their new union. Two other unions pledged their support for the strikers, but Yale administrators warned their pay could be docked if they honor the student picket lines. And in Greenwich Village, students were singing, not striking, in a protest led by singer Richie Havens at PS 41. The students say they'll need community support to restore school services slashed by budget cuts. Library, music, art, science, and remedial programs have all been endangered by the cuts to city and state aid.
Donald Trump's money problems were compounded today by a decision which will make it tougher for him to sell his Palm Beach estate. Trump has been trying to subdivide his 17-acre estate known as Mar-a-Lago. But Palm Beach's zoning commission voted unanimously not to recommend the plan, claiming it's against the public interest. The Palm Beach Town Council considers the matter next month.
Well, people who drive GM cars might want to take note of a recall. We'll have details up next.
Also, some people would like to see a new doll recalled. We'll show you why they think the toy is offensive. And we'll look at how a community is trying to fill City Hall offices by using the want ads. That's next.
And later, we'll climb aboard the Starship Enterprise for a look back at its 25-year journey, complete with the flaws. That coming up on Eyewitness News. Nearly 1 million cars are being recalled tonight by General Motors. Most are Chevrolet Corsica and Berettas built between 1988 and 1990. They have a faulty shoulder belt retractor, which is blamed for at least one injury. Some 60,000 1991 Cavaliers and Pontiac Sunbirds have a flaw in their front door frame, while 21,000 1991 Buick Park Avenues and Oldsmobile 98s and 92 model Buick LeSabres, Pontiac Bonnevils, and Olds 88s have a design problem with their parking brakes. Well, some people think there's a big flaw with these dolls being sold in Connecticut. Streetheart and Homeless Hannah carry notes asking that they be taken into love, which offends homeless advocates.
Made in China. They are taking advantage of and they're using homeless children in a way that's going to make a profit for someone. They're using their grief and their pain to make money, and we find it very offensive to the million homeless children we have in America.
Advocates say characterizing the dolls as homeless is particularly insensitive when children make up 1/4 of the nation's homeless population.
Time now for a look at what's ahead on Eyewitness News at 6. Let's go to Bill Butel in the newsroom.
Thank you, Diana. Tonight on Eyewitness News at 6, a day of high drama at the trial of William Kennedy Smith. The woman who accuses him of rape takes the stand, and we'll have more of her compelling, emotional testimony in a live report. Also at 6 o'clock, we first told you how one of the largest car dealers in the country may have been taking customers for a ride. Now the state attorney general is taking action. We'll tell you what could happen next. And Cheating 101. Meet the young man who wrote the book, literally. He's making a good piece of change, showing college students how to make the grade the easy way. All this and a good deal more coming up on Eyewitness News at 6, and I hope you join us then. Right now, back to the studio, Tim and Diana.
Okay, we'll see you soon, Bill. Thanks. If you or someone you know is looking for work, leaders are wanted in Yonkers. The city government there is trying to fill vacancies by taking out a want ad. Art McFarland explains.
Could the key to your future be at Yonkers City Hall? How would you like to be Commissioner of Fiscal Services or Commissioner of Public Works? Well, the newspaper ad pitches a number of very important jobs in Yonkers city government. The mayor-elect thinks it's a practical idea.
Rather than hiring a very expensive $40,000, $50,000 headhunting type firm, we felt it would be much more cost-effective to try to reach out through advertising media.
The ad first appeared on Sunday, and the response has been quick. Stacks of letters and resumes have already come in from job seekers.
We're pleased with the response. We're happy that people are responding to the message to come and help Yonkers right. Many of the resumes we're receiving are from citizens within Yonkers and many from outside, so we're encouraged to see a balance there.
In downtown Yonkers, we didn't find anyone who has a problem with the job ads.
I think advertising for people is a good idea. They advertise civil service jobs, why can't you advertise political jobs?
Instead of getting just the same old people running for office, now you get a whole different selection. That's good. Good. I like it.
You're a postman now. How'd you like to be Commissioner of Public Works?
If it pays more money, why not?
In fact, starting pay for some of the jobs would be just over $90,000 a year. But those doing the hiring say their standards are high.
We've been very impressed by the what appears on paper to be the quality of a number of the individuals who have submitted resumes.
The mayor-elect does not feel all of the key city government positions will be filled through the newspaper ad, but he insists that some very important appointments could be made that way. So almost anyone with the right qualifications could have a future in government in this town. In Yonkers, New York, Art McFarland, Channel 7 Eyewitness News.
The mayor says he decided to advertise in the want ads to avoid political favoritism, a system that he says has become a trademark of Yonkers city government.
Well, another ad could read, Wedding Date Wanted. We'll have details on a pop diva's plan to marry.
And talk show queen Oprah Winfrey is answering instead of asking questions about her wedding prospects rather. Joel Siegel, progress prospects. Joel Siegel tells us if the marriage of Oscar-winning actor Jeremy Irons and director Steven Soderbergh produced a great movie called Kafka. Coming up next on Eyewitness News.
Elizabeth Taylor continues to be plagued by health problems. This time, the flu combined with a 103-degree fever is forcing her to drop out of tomorrow night's annual masquerade ball for AIDS research here in New York. She also had to cancel an AIDS-related luncheon Monday. But pop diva Madonna did attend an AIDS benefit here in New York last night. Madonna covered her head as she quickly arrived at an exhibit of work by artist Keith Haring, who died last year from AIDS. He was a very close friend of Madonna's.
Another pop diva is reportedly making wedding plans. Whitney Houston is sporting a 10-carat diamond ring given to her by fellow singer Bobby Brown. Now, she won't discuss a possible date. She says he is definitely the man for her, though, and she is ready to start a family. Well, starting a family is the furthest thing from Oprah Winfrey's mind. The talk show host once said she'd be worried if she wasn't married by the time she was 38. Well, now that she has reached that magic age, her fans are more concerned, apparently, than she is. Oprah says that she is asked constantly about possible wedding plans. Her answer, she already has more work than she can handle.
Well, actor Jeremy Irons takes on plenty of work in the role of Kafka, an insurance clerk turned investigator in the latest holiday movie release. Joel Siegel joins us now with his review. Joel?
Tim, this is the time of year when films open in L.A. and New York for Oscar consideration, and Kafka, which opened on both coasts today for 1 week to qualify, was directed by Steven Soderbergh, whose first film was the incredibly inventive Sex, Lies, and Videotape, and stars last year's Oscar winner Jeremy Irons, not in a biography of the great writer, but in a mystery where Kafka is the main character. This is a very well-directed film, directed with the same eye for a unique camera angle, the same attention to detail, the same patient care that made Sex, Lies, and Videotape so startling a first work.
Yes.
The way Soderbergh slowly dragged you into his story. The real Kafka did work in a Prague insurance office where this Kafka takes place. And the dialogue, the word is Kafkaesque.
This has been opened.
Oh. Shall I reseal it?
There's not a lot of point.
Jeremy Irons' perfectly measured performance, each move studied. No, he doesn't panic. The eerie black and white, the shots and angles that mimic the third man, and here Hitchcock. The technique tells us this is suspenseful, but because we don't know where the evil comes from, we don't feel the suspense. That is solid movie making technically, but there's no suspense because there's never any threat. Kafka, the writer, took the real, the drudgery of day-to-day life, and made it surreal. His character becomes an insect. Here the script takes the surreal and makes it silly. The black and white turns to color for no reason. The film becomes a mad scientist movie, complete with murdering zombies and giant machines. See it if you're curious, if you're a fan of Sex and Lies, or wait till it comes out on videotape. Irons and the supporting cast, you saw Joel Grey. Alec Guinness is here too. They're excellent. So Soderbergh's direction, but Kafka never makes the metamorphosis into a great film.
Want to be a tough one to garner the Oscar vote then. Thank you, Joel. Well, some might argue that there are no good reviews for this bad weather. It's cold, and it's going to get colder. Bill's up next to tell us the big chill's going to last into the weekend.
And some skiers hope that they have set a record that is going to last. We'll have details of their downhill marathon. Plus, we're going to show you a massive monument built out of a child's erector set. A bit of Paris, right here in New York, in the Eyewitness Newsreel. Can you imagine skiing non-stop for 24 hours? That's how 14 men raced to a downhill record today. They skied in pairs, teaming up to see who could make the most runs down a mountain in Aspen, Colorado. It was up and down for 24 hours straight, even through the middle of the night. The world record, 81 runs, adding up to a 265,000 vertical feet of skiing. That record could soon fall, though. Several other teams have already announced they're going to try to beat it. Phew. Makes me tired thinking about it.
That's an awfully tall mountain.
Yeah, well, I was going to say
for 24 hours.
It's because you have to be in shape to do that too, even though it's downhill.
It's a lot of work.
Well, you have to be in shape to ski.
Well, there were people skiing down Columbus Avenue. Of course, you see some strange things once in a while on Columbus Avenue. As a matter of fact, if you think it's going to be cold tonight, these are the temperatures: 22 in the city, 20 in northern Jersey, to 19 around Harding, Ellenville, about 10 to 15. These are cold. You think those are cold enough? Look at this. The wind chills, 5 below in the city to probably Westchester County. Then once you get out to northern Jersey, as much as 15 below in Warren, Morris, probably 10 to 15 Essex County, Passaic County, Bergen County, very cold. Even then when you get to Rockland, Dutchess, Putnam, 20 below. And it'll be a heat wave on Long Island, just at 0 tonight. It will be cold, so bring the pets and the plants indoors. 30 tonight. I should say 30 tomorrow, but with the wind will die down some tomorrow, so that will make it feel more like about 25 to 20 rather than colder than that. The next system we'll see move across will be a storm system out of the Midwest. It'll come across for tomorrow night and into Thursday. Friday morning, we might see some scattered flurries around the area once again. It is going to be a mess, particularly in the Ohio Valley. If you've got to travel to Chicago again or to Detroit, the airports there could be slowed by what will be snow in that area. Cold, high pressure. This is an Alberta Clipper. That will drop in behind it like the great racing Clipper ships. That's what it's named for. It'll race into the area, giving us the cold weather on Saturday and for Sunday. The 5-day outlook, though, shows the temperatures warming back up on Monday. That's when we get on the backside of that high pressure system, and it will be up to 50. So turn the heat up, keep the gloves, scarves, all that good stuff, and do stay warm. Have a good evening.
My favorite weather term, the Alberta Clipper.
That's it.
Good. Thanks, Bill. Subway safety posters, tips from basketball's dynamic duo, Paris in Central Park, and a peek at the future for some airline passengers, all on today's Eyewitness Newsreel. Newark International Airport is on the fast track to improving its image. Today, Newsreel got a peek at the monorail system that will go into effect in another 3 years. Imagine this system could take airline passengers from the parking lot to the terminal in just 7 minutes. It can also make a big dent in airport traffic congestion. If you're commuting by subway, Newsreel says, heads up, it's the only way to enjoy these travel safety posters. The first one was put up by its creators and celebrates the travel training program for disabled children. A grade A effort that reminds everyone to travel safely. Today's tip-off offered some great tips to players of the New York Institute for Special Education's basketball team. These talented kids received private lessons from former New York Knicks star Clyde Frazier and Earl the Pearl Monroe. A great game plan being put into great use. Another great idea, a touch of Paris in Central Park. This 40-foot-tall erector set version of the Eiffel Tower is a sight for skaters visiting Woolman Rink. Donald Trump presented it to the public today. It's made of more than 18,000 pieces and took 1,300 hours to construct. Ooh la la. And au revoir from today's Eyewitness Newsroom. Didn't know I spoke French, did you?
No, I didn't. It's going where no other movie series has gone before.
The Enterprise's journey might be coming to an end, though, but her crew is leaving behind some out-of-this-world records. We'll beam you up next on Eyewitness News.
They are known as Trekkies, avid fans of the series Star Trek, and for money, it has been a 25-year mission to seek out and discover everything and anything there is to know about the cast and crew of the Starship Enterprise. These are just some of the outtakes from the classic TV show Star Trek. Star Trek's 25-year voyage from the small screen to the silver screen has been nothing less than spectacular. Since Star Trek, the motion picture, appeared back in 1979, the movie and its sequels have grossed close to $400 million at the box office. Not bad for a television show that only made 3 years of original episodes, but lived long and prospered in syndication.
You've got generations of people that have seen this and on TV and want more, but better. You know, the movies can give you the production value.
Now the cast and crew are back with their latest effort, Star Trek VI, The Undiscovered Country. This so-called final journey of the Starship Enterprise has fans excited.
I'm 41 years old and I'm a Trekkie. I haven't felt this way since The Man from U.N.C.L.E. first came out.
Star Trek is big business in the collectible market. There are Star Trek pins, Star Trek models, even a $190 Star Trek mug from the Franklin Mint. There are 97 books, and even a series of comic books.
Right now, if you have any original Star Trek memorabilia from the 70s, the lunchbox alone is going for close to $700. The ray guns are a couple $100.
And what does tomorrow and the next 25 years hold in store for Trekkies?
I'm sure this movie will be successful. And I think at this point, I really don't think they could do more with this cast. I mean, I think they really need some young blood. So I think they're going to get it from the TV show, The Next Generation.
Well, we will wait and see. The movie, by the way, opens Friday. Joel's going to have his review on Friday, and you know this symbol, right?
Yes.
Live long and prosper.
Yes. Beam me up, Scotty, because we're going to close out the 5 o'clock edition on that note. For Dinah Williams and Bill Evans, I'm Tim Fleischer.
And let's go now to Bill Butel in the Eyewitness News at 6.
Thank you, Diane and Tim. Tonight, high drama and very human emotion at the William Kennedy Smith trial as his accuser takes the stand. We'll have a live report on her emotional, compelling testimony. And he's finally free. The last American held hostage leaves his captor's hands, and we'll be live with some of Terry Anderson's family on Long Island. Also, we first showed you how one of New York's largest car dealers may be taking his customers, some of them, for a ride. Now the state attorney general is taking action. And meet the man who wrote the book about cheating, literally. A new book that's selling like hotcakes on college campuses. All this and a good deal more coming up in just a moment on Eyewitness News.